Welcome to the Storybook Africa podcast, a sanctuary of inspiration and transformation for the vibrant youth of Africa. Through the power of stories, we weave together the threads of resilience, hope, and cultural heritage, empowering young Africans to embrace their unique journeys with courage and confidence. From the sweeping savannas to the bright cities to the remote villages, each episode invites you to explore the diverse contexts that shape the extraordinary experiences and visions of Africa's youth. So sit back, relax, and let us transport you through the heart of Africa, where lions roar, drums beat, and beautiful life happens, birthing tales of wisdom that foster healing, growth, and development.
Hello.
Hi there, hi.
How are you?
I'm fine.
It sounds like it's been a very long day.
Very long day. You know how some things can just go how you didn't predict. So I'm so sorry about that delay.
Well, I'm glad you're here with us today, and thanks to everyone who's joined us. Our joint apologies for starting now, but I'm sure it's going to be a very amazing conversation, and I will just go on and begin. So my name is Whitney Mwangi. I'm the founder of the Storybook Africa, which is a creative enterprise that focuses on youth empowerment, handling particularly their healing, growth, and development. And this year we decided that we'll be hosting X Spaces to provide a platform to have conversations with young, inspirational Africans doing amazing things, uplifting the wellness of their communities and the people around them. And today we are honored to have with us Dr. Diana Justus, aka the Wandering Doctor. You probably know her as that. And she'll be talking to us about my radical acceptance era. Or rather, we'll be having a conversation about accepting oneself after a season of disappointment and lost hope, and a lot around that. So Dr. Diana, she does amazing things beyond handling global health and a medical practice. She's also recognized as an outstanding female traveler that you need to watch out for. And I believe in 2022, she was appointed as the ambassador for Kenya on the African Tourism Board. So Diana, you'll tell us more about this. Karibu sana. Happy to have you on board, and thank you for making time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words and the accolades.
They're yours.
I will say the same about you. Actually, if we start right now, you won't finish. But Thank you so much. As Whitney has said, Diana Justus or Dr. Diana Justus. On my social media platforms, I go as the Wandering Doctor. And there's a reason as to why that name was chosen. I think it will come up in our conversation later. Apart from being a practicing medical doctor, because people ask, do I practice or not? So I'm a practicing medical doctor, but I also do social media content creation and brand influencing. So I work with brands to build their social media platforms, to build customers, to build their sales. And mostly I work in the travel side of content creation or brand influencing. But with time, I found myself working also with healthcare brands and lifestyle brands like skincare, etc. I'm also an entrepreneur. I have a travel business. So we call ourselves travelpreneurs. So it's a young business, I think 5 months old right now. It's called the Wandering Doctor Travel. So in that business, what we do is curate travel plans for people anywhere you want to go in the world. But what we do uniquely is we work with your budget. We just don't have fixed packages. We also try to see what you want, where do you want to go, and we fit it in your budget. So apart from just doing travel planning, we also do travel consultancy. And as I finish, at the end of it, I'm also passionate about women's health. And as you said, the storybook is about following inspirational African youth who are doing things for the community. For me, I'm very passionate about women's health. It's not about even women's health. And that's why I take the name a social change advocate, because it's not about the women's health alone. It comes to also things to do with gender equality when it comes to women in leadership, if it comes to health. It deals with other things that women deal with, just apart from health issues. These are things to do with gender-based violence, FGM, early marriages, etc. So that is just a short, brief introduction of who I am.
Well,
Hope I didn't miss
not that
anything.
short. No, you did not. It's not that short. And I'm very proud of you, because sometimes we can have a lot going on and not really have impact. But for you, because I know you, I would say personally, and I also follow your journey online, it's always very inspirational to see the impact, both visual and I'm sure behind the scenes. There's quite a lot that you do to bring it all together. As far as women empowerment is concerned, entrepreneurship, travelpreneurs, is that what you call them?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's entrepreneurship plus travel. Yeah. So it becomes a travelpreneur. So these are people who are in the travel business, mostly people who do the travel planning. That's the word we've coined for ourselves.
Okay, awesome. Congratulations on that new gig, and I hope that it does kick off to become all that you hoped it would, though it's 5 months now.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So just to give a bit of a background on radical acceptance. So in psychology, radical acceptance is encouraged as a distress tolerance skill that is designed to, keep pain from turning into suffering or trauma. So I first learned of this word in 2023 when God made it a resolution for me and expounded that I'd need to see and accept who I am and who I'm not, for me to embrace the journey that is ahead and also think about what is mine and what is not. So that obviously proceeded to be a very dramatic year for me. And that's a story for another day, which I think we will all need wine for this. But as our guest today, I'd be curious to know about your radical acceptance journey after a season of lost hope. I know that there's not a darker moment in one's life than when you've really lost hope and you're just, dwindling in disappointment. So do you recall of such a time that you're obviously comfortable sharing with us that you'd want to tell us more about?
It's actually so sad. I don't know if it's sad, or it's also okay to say I can't think of one time that, I've been in a situation where I've been in deep disappointment. But even before I share it, what I've come to notice is I think in life, it's somehow a condition that you'd be always in a position where you're disappointed. Because for me, I feel like after that happens, what happens next? For me, that has been my experience. What has happened after periods of disappointment have always been really good things. So I've come to a point in my life where at this point, because at the moment I'd say there are some things that are disappointing in my life at the moment, but I've come to maybe embrace them more or better, because I've learned that after some phases of disappointment, loss or grief or depression, there's always something comes up on the other side, just to start from there, because that's what I've learned from my experience. But yes, I do have a specific experience that I went through where I was in very deep disappointment, and I'm just happy that I was able to conquer it, and I came out of the other side stronger than I even knew. So the thing about even disappointment is the things it taught me about myself and the things that I'm able to do, I'm still grateful till now. But it started after graduating, because in medical school you do your 6 years of medical school, then you do your 1 year of internship. So that makes it 7 years. So I invested 7 years of my education in this course that I really wanted to do. I wanted to be a doctor since high school. So for me, I was really enthusiastic to start this journey and finish it. So you can imagine at the end of it, we've done 6 years, you're so happy, you're almost done. So we went in, we did our internship year 2020, and I have to mention that this is COVID year, because a lot of things changed with COVID. So COVID happened when we were in our internship year, and that ended up affecting our job opportunities after that. Because what happened is, because nowadays as doctors, long time ago when you finish your internship, you'd be posted to a hospital. Yes, because health was under the Ministry of Health, but currently it's under the county system after devolution. So what you do is you go home, then you start applying jobs to counties or the private hospitals. So that's Nairobi, because Nairobi is where I reside in. So there was an issue because it's COVID. With COVID, hospitals or workplaces weren't the working numbers, the staff numbers to be on the low, not on a high, because you also don't want to reduce the infection rate. So you can imagine it's in 2021, we are now in the job market, but where you're supposed to be getting jobs from, there are issues. We don't want, at this point, the hospitals don't want also many staff. So if you want to look for even extra money to do what we call locums, you can't get, because at that point, if it's an ICU unit, they'd only want one doctor. The number of staff really went down at that moment. So I went through a period of almost 8 months of unemployment. And within those 8 months, just not that I was sitting at home. On my end, I felt like I was doing everything right. I did my internship. My internship center cleared me to go into the job market. You come, you're doing your connections, you're sending your CVs, but you just don't get anything in return. And I remember it was so distressing. The first month I was like, it's okay. The second month I'm like, oh well, things happen. But then when it hit the third month, I think that was around March of 2021, my mentality couldn't handle it. And that's when the unemployment kind of tipped me into, let's say, a depressive phase. And I'm happy. I can't say it was a severe depression where I needed to be admitted or needed medication. It was a mild form of it. But I remember it was not a very good point in my life. Because, you're looking at, maybe you have fellow doctors. Some didn't even struggle. Because what happened, the job market changed in the doctor space. So now it's not only about your merits, but it's about who do you know where. And unfortunately, some people don't have that foot in like others. And I'm not judging people who have a foot in. I'd also prefer to be that. But for me, I was the first doctor in the family. I didn't have very aggressive skills, to vouch for myself for these hospitals where there's high competition. So I found myself jobless for almost a year. And for me, that was when I went down. From around March to September there, I was not in my best space mentally. So if you're to tell me to describe a phase in my life and I was in deep disappointment, that was it for me, Whitney.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I can even just hear it in your tone, reflecting on that time, how much of a downer it can be when you have high hopes. Especially in some careers, you raise the focus on medicine and the practice in itself, how it's expected that when you finish school, you are selling like a hot cake. And I think it's been the same maybe for lawyers and this highly acclimated focuses and expertise. But I'm glad that you are able to rise above that. And here you are now. In the beginning, you said that when you look back, you appreciate the dark moments that you've gone through, the disappointments, and perhaps times when things did not go as you planned, because they taught you a lot about yourself, and you also ended up learning a lot about, life in general. So I know you've mentioned that to pull yourself out of this dark space, you try to make the best use of your time. You try to write, and I bet this is where some of your current practices of passion or passion projects have been born out of. So what other skills did you utilize to pull yourself out of the dark space?
Yeah, for me, it's one thing. And I normally say travel saved my life. That's what I normally say. Because at that moment, when I look back on how sad I was, what I didn't mention, I started a business because I'm also a baker. I had started a business when I was in med school from third year. So by then, this was after internship. I still had the business. But from the moment when my mental health started going low, I lost 100% interest in the baking business. I couldn't get myself up to do the orders. And baking is very labor intensive. I didn't have the energy. I just couldn't do it. So my baking business had to take aside. So I say travel saved my life because that's when I realized I'm here being hopeless and thinking my life is over. But I didn't look in me and see something that I have that I can use to my own benefit, invest in myself, and bring me joy and fulfillment in this life. So for me, travel was it. I was doing it as a hobby by then, but I had a few people, and I'll have to mention a good friend of mine, Dr. Vundi. She just came to my DM because she was also one of the doctors who are using social media as a platform to show your creativity or to sell your business. So she came to me and said, what's your plan with this travel? We've seen you open a cake business and it worked out. What about travel? What do you want to do with it? Do you still want it to be a hobby? And by then I was already thinking about how I could switch it up at that point. But being a doctor at that point was one of the major challenges for me. How was I going to do this? How was I going to turn my social media to be a travel page when I'm a doctor? And by then, I don't think there was a doctor who was doing full-on influencing on social media at that point. So it was a gray area for me, but I chose to invest. So I looked at the skills that I have. I was good with travel. I could take nice photos. I could be able to edit them. I was also doing virtual storytelling. When I travel, I just do a story of what I'm encountering in where I'm traveling in. And I saw, okay, when I started posting, you could see a few remarks. And I was like, okay, this is something that could work. So I challenged myself. I went online, saw what other content creators from other countries are doing. By then in Kenya, we had content creators, but not really travel. But Joy Candy used to do a bit of travel. But I took my inspiration from America, London. So I just went to some hotels and I did my first pitch. And Whitney, you wouldn't imagine, but the first pitch I ever wrote, and I had, I think, 4,000 followers or 3,000 followers then. That hotel actually wrote me back and I was so shocked. I'm like, okay, so you actually see what I don't even see in myself. And I was writing, I didn't even think they'd respond. And they're like, yeah, we actually like what you do. We know you've not done this before as a travel content creator in terms of collaboration, but come through, let's see what we can do. But by then I had to still pay from my pocket. So the savings that I had saved from internship here was a good thing in medical school where as doctors we are paid during internship. So I had some savings with me. I used the savings to invest in my travels. So the travels I did in my first year were all paid from my pocket. Others I could be lucky, I could get 50% off. But for most I had to pay everything so that I could also build my own portfolio. So I'm so lucky I could get brands and hotels that would work with me when I didn't really have that much of a social media audience, but that really helped me grow. So for me, I tapped into my travel, and in my travel, I found that I have other skills. I didn't know I have good planning skills, marketing skills, budgeting skills. So for me, that's what I did. I went deep into myself, found something that I'm already doing, that I was not seeing it, and I chose to invest in it. And somehow that actually dug me out from the sadness I was feeling, because now I could find joy. Even though I'm traveling to because I remember the first trip was in Amboseli. I was still depressed at that point. I was not using travel to heal my depression, but I could find joy in those moments. When I was shooting, when I was posting, when I was meeting with the owners of the hotel, those things gave me joy and satisfaction. I felt like I'm doing something in this world, rather than when I was feeling in my medical field, that's not working out. So I invested in my skills and myself. That's what I chose to do.
Amazing. All power to you. And we celebrate your doctor friend who pushed you out of your comfort zone, and she gave you perspective so that you were able to look at what you have, on your hands. And it's interesting that you bring this up, because earlier today I was listening to a group of young people being trained on how to do advocacy on malaria, HIV, and tuberculosis in Cameroon. Yeah. And I was explaining to them that sometimes we look at other people and what they have and compare with ourselves and what we don't have. They were saying to me, Whitney, obviously you see it possible to achieve all these great things because you have the platform, you probably have connections, but you've proved to us that sometimes you just need to make that step, knock the door. And you never know what you're going to get. And that's exactly the message that I keep proving, because you never know what awaits you. You never know the power that sits within you until you actually test it out. And you've attested to that today.
Thank you. Yeah. Sometimes you just need to take a chance on yourself.
Yeah.
And it can be very scary. Because at that point, it can, especially when it's a place where you don't know. And this applies when you're starting a business. Right. If you're thinking of whether to join a master's to improve your skills, whatever it is, you just have to take a chance on yourself. But it's very, very difficult. That's a place we don't talk about.
Don't you just love stories? Stories shape how we understand the world, our place in it, and our ability to change it. We are all products of our backgrounds, perceptions, and experiences, which form how we interpret the world. So we all have unique stories to share. You too can inspire the world with your story. The Storybook Africa accepts stories under 3 categories all year round: Young and on Fire, Note to Younger Self, and Dear Diary. You can also join us to transform the lives of youth in Africa by 1. Participating in youth empowerment projects we run, through which we partner with businesses owned by young Africans to host events, run campaigns, or award grants for business expansion. 2. Submitting or buying a digital product from our e-shop, which is a hub of amazing items that can support the community's healing, growth, and development journey crafted by young Africans. Excited to partner with us? Visit our website today for more information: www.thestorybook.whitneymwangi.com.
Thanks everyone who's made time to be with us. Today we are having a conversation with Dr. Diana Justus, aka the Wandering Doctor, and she's sharing with us her experience regarding accepting herself after a season of disappointment and lost hope. We're calling it my radical acceptance era. So please share your questions. Let us know where you're joining us from. Let us know what has really touched your heart, what has inspired you, and some of the lessons that you're taking on with you beyond this slide. So Diana, what did this season and every other season that you've been through that was a bit difficult or daunting or intimidating taught you about yourself and others? So what has all of these seasons all together, I know you've shared a good example with us earlier on, but what has it generally taught you about yourself and others? You can share any 2 or 3 lessons.
All right, so let me see what it's taught about myself. On the negative end, it taught me that I don't appreciate myself enough, or I don't look at myself with a lens that others look at me with. Have you ever felt like that? Like sometimes people see the potential in you or the power in you or the greatness in you, but you yourself don't see it. Because for the months where before I took on travel as something to keep me busy at that point, I spent almost 3 months mostly just feeling sad, feeling low. At that point, I didn't see anything positive in myself. And that's what I learned about myself at that point. I learned that if I thought I loved myself, I learned that I didn't love myself at all at that moment. And what it taught me about others was the people around you can really influence how the trajectory of your life can go. Because what also helped me during that time, I can't say 100% it was me believing in myself or me taking a chance on myself that got me out of that situation. The people who were around me, and I'm happy to see some here, who really helped me during that time. You need people in your life who are like a mirror. The things that you can't see in yourself, they see it for you and tell you and sometimes remind you. So despite having knowledge of the greatness you have, it also taught me that the people surrounding you, or the people around you, should be people who see that greatness in you too. And maybe should even see it more than you see by yourself, because that keeps you going. Another thing I learned about myself at that time is I was not as mentally strong as I thought I normally am. Because that's something I always used to say, and I would always brag on it, and a lot of people say it, I'm a mentally strong person, I can go through anything. I learned that in this life, things can change and you can break sometimes. So I allowed myself to be vulnerable. So before that experience, I was not a vulnerable person. I was very closed in. I wouldn't share what I was going through with people, even my folks. That is something that has started after that point. Before then, when I was in uni, high school, I've always been someone who keeps my issues to myself. But when I was in that point where I needed to reach out, communicate, it taught me to be vulnerable. And I learned that in vulnerability, that's where actually your strength is in. Because when you talk to someone, that person can be able to show you the things you're not seeing. So it showed me that I was not as mentally strong as I thought, and that I need to lean on the people who are around me. And it taught me that other people are always ready to actually help you, if only you lean towards them. So for me, that was a really that's what came out to me. That's what I learned about others and myself during that period. That yes, I'm strong, but not strong enough, that things can happen. And another thing that I learned is that life is not as linear as we always expect it to be. Because from that point, before that point, when you look at how I was primary school, high school, coming to join uni, things in my life had always gone so positively and just used to go in like a thread. Like I used to know, even though we are doing exams, I'd actually expect I'd pass, I'll be on the next stage in life. So I was already used to this trajectory where it's a positive. Then I got into a place where I was just getting no, constant no's for almost a year. And that taught me that life is not as straightforward. So even now, if something happens to me, let's say I lose a job, or I'm not able, let's say the same situation, unemployment comes in my life right now, I think I now have better tools to deal with it, because I already know life is not as straight. Life is ups and downs, and you have to appreciate when you're down, because you don't know where you're going to end up. Yeah, that's what I learned.
That's quite a lot. And honestly, I like the vulnerability part. I feel like this is a growing curve even for me, because vulnerability comes with a price in itself. The risk of being vulnerable and falling into the wrong hands. But again, I mean, we cannot shy away from this, because as you share, again, being vulnerable opened ways for you to draw closer to your friends, your family, and also learn who you can count on and who you cannot, right?
True.
Okay, so
it's
that's
also,
good.
it also showed me, the power I have in me also. If I kept quiet and not opened up to people of I was struggling etc., they also wouldn't have had that opportunity to tell me, wait, you mean you're not seeing this? Like, what's wrong with you? If I kept on putting this face of I have it all together, I'm good, maybe I would have also missed up on that.
Okay, I see. So, it reminds me, my teacher, my driving school teacher, every time he would say funny things, like say he's tired of his job and he's looking for a job. I know this was not the best thing to say when he's teaching me how to drive. I should have had more hope with him. And then he would say, Mficha hazai. So for those of us who don't understand Kiswahili, like if you hide your nakedness, you're not able to give birth, right? Yeah, so what you've said, what you've shared just reminded me of that experience, and it does encourage me and hopefully everyone who's listening in to be okay with accepting and recognizing moments when our cups are empty, that we need to fill them up, and perhaps fill them up through the people around us, for them to remind us who we are. And the concept of mirrors, I like that. I like the concept of mirrors because, I mean, it's a whole other conversation, because in its own way, it's someone who, yes, they remind us who we are. They're a sounding board, but also they are learning, they're growing in their journey by learning through us, if that makes sense.
Through you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
Awesome. So I hope everyone who's listening in is also learning as much as I am from Dr. Diana Justus, aka Wandering Doctor. And she's been speaking with us about my radical acceptance era. That is, rising back from seasons of disappointment and lost hope and accepting yourself through that. So as we wind up the live, I would like to hear from you, Dr. Diana, which 5 ways would you advise young African women to invest in themselves so they can radically embrace who they are going forward, here, now, and tomorrow? Yeah.
Okay, I think this won't even be the first point.
Okay.
But just from the theme of the day, radical acceptance, it just has to start with first accepting yourself and accepting where you are in your journey. Because you don't start with the acceptance, whatever tools you have, whatever ways you're going to invest in, if it's your brand, your business, your skills, it won't work, it won't permeate if you don't accept yourself. So it all starts with knowing yourself, knowing who you are. So for me at that point, it was even a difficult point to even make my presence known or felt in the content creation space. Because as I said, I entered in as a doctor. At that point, there were a few doctors who were in the content creation space. So at that point, when someone would ask me, what time do you work? You're always traveling. At first, I used to find myself, my reaction was always negative. I would be like, why would you ask me such a question? Would you ask a man such a question? But then I realized my hostility was coming from a place of insecurity. Because even myself at that point, I had not fully accepted myself that this doctor who might be having a different journey from others, I was still trying to maybe convince myself that, let me just stay fully in the clinical side to look more of a doctor. Maybe if I come to this side, I won't get jobs. I was insecure with myself. So even though I would have started my traveling, whatever would have started, and I wasn't sure about what I'm doing, I don't think I would be where I am right now. So for me, accepting myself and not caring about what anyone thinks, because I know my journey, I know where I want it to head, that really helped me. So I think I just started. I had not mentioned that. So now I can go to the answer of the question.
Sure,
how women
go ahead.
can... it was
how women can embrace themselves, accept themselves, invest in themselves so they can radically embrace who they are going forward. I mean, what you've said already plays into it, right? That's the foundational work. Accepting yourself, being confident in who you are, and then accepting also where you are in your journey. I think that's very foundational. Yeah.
Then from there, you can now start on the other things. So I think I already mentioned the first one, which I'd say investing in the skills that you already have. So I invested in the skills that I had when it comes to my photography skills, marketing skills, social media, and storytelling skills. So number one, I'd say first look at what do you have. Use what you have, where you are, and what you have. Just start with that. Most times you hear people say, just start. And we think it's, we call them fake deep advices. But when you think about it, you just need, when someone tells you just start, you look at them like, now what does
what are you talking about? Yeah.
But it means just start. Right. Start with what you have and where you are. If it's a small capital you have, find a way, find a business or something that fits into it that can work. So for me, it's first look at the skills you have, invest in those first. In case you don't have, then the next step I'd advise young girls or women is to now invest in new skills. There's a point where if you need to take a course, take it. If you need to attend seminars, go for them. If you need to attend workshops, go for them. So build new skills for yourself. Because if you're at a point where you feel stuck and you're looking for a way forward, maybe you think you belong in I'll use the content creation space because that's where I radically accepted myself. You need to improve your skills. So if you don't have skills with editing, you can always go online, do some skills work. You can always invest by buying applications and teaching yourself how to do things. So the second thing is invest in new skills that you don't have. Those can also pivot you and take you to the next level. Another way, the third way I would advise women to radically accept themselves and push their limits is you can think about building a brand. And this cannot be applicable to everyone, but it can be applicable to maybe the ones who also use social media like myself. I found that it's really important to build a brand because when you build a brand, you are creating a specific identifier for yourself. And this can attract different jobs, different people, different opportunities in your life. Like for myself, I started with the Wandering Doctor Travels. I started as a hobby, but then became a business where I'm doing influencing and working with brands. And this is a brand that I've been able to, how can I call it, grow, because I started then doing medical content. Then I grew again. I started doing lifestyle work. So the more you grow, the more you build on your brand, you can be able to attract different things. So at the moment, I can attract travel brands. I can attract skincare brands. I can attract food brands, beverage brands, clothing brands, hospital brands, or health brands. So that's the other thing. You can try build a brand and use your own brand as yourself. That means you're making yourself the business. That can also help you scale through. Then before I finish, mentorship. Mentorship is really key. Like I can say, Whitney, you're one of my mentors. I've been coming to you for years. I remember when I used to be very interested in getting into the global health space. into the space of advocacy for women's health and women's issues, I came to you and I learned quite a lot. So one thing, women sometimes are scared to, one thing I always say, the book that says think like a man, I really like that statement. Because one thing men don't have is fear. Men are the most confident people I've ever seen and ever met. You always thought, have the confidence of a white man.
Right.
The belief that whatever room you enter, you'll sign that deal, or whatever opportunity you go through will work. So for mentorship, men really mentor each other. If they see someone who's doing something they're interested in, they'll knock on that door. So for women, the same. Look for mentors in your field, women who've done things that you admire and would like to also achieve. Find a way to talk to them. And your mentor doesn't have to be someone who's way older than you, just someone who is more vast in the field that you're looking to get into. So did I finish? And they will help you realize who you are. Because when you're talking to a mentor, this is someone who's been in the situation you've been in before. So if there's a point they're struggling with accepting themselves, they'll be able to tell you that these things happen. But if you just choose what feels right for you, it will work out. So for me, mentorship has been it's been a guiding point for me. I've talked to so many women, even men. Let me not say women only. Men have also been helpful really in my journey of accepting myself in the field that I'm in at the moment. And lastly, I think I would advise women, because mentorship goes with networking. So I'd also advise them to network, because when you network, you'll be able to meet people. You'll meet people who are even of your clan. Because let me mention this, when I joined now the content creation side, I was still insecure when I joined because I didn't feel like I fit in. But when I joined in, the people who are there were also welcoming. They were easy to give me tips on what to do. And I felt welcomed and I felt like I actually belong in that space. So anytime we'll talk to someone, they'll be like, actually, we see your content. We didn't even know you're a doctor. Your content is so nice. So also networking and talking to people can also increase and boost your confidence. And lastly, what I'll say that has helped is investing in your mental health. Because at the end of the day, you might have the best mentor, you might have your brand, you might have skills, but if your mental health is not healthy, then all the work you've done comes to a zero. So women should really focus on their mental health, and this means reducing stress. If that means taking some time off when you feel too stressed, don't feel bad, take that time off. Because as women, what we don't remember is our life trajectory is also not as men. We have monthly periods every month. Men don't have that. And with even monthly periods comes issues like PMS, pre or post. So for women, we are more susceptible to stress in our lives than men. So feel free to take that time off. Comparison is the thief of joy. Do what you're doing. One day it will work out. If you need to sleep enough. Your diet is also very key. If you're into meditation, do it. If you're into journaling, do it. But at every point of your journey, whether you're in your deep despair, disappointment journey, or when you're happy and successful, your mental health should be balanced. Because I feel like your mental health dictates the other parts of your life. So that's what I'd say at the moment. As I said, my life is not perfect yet. I've been able to endure some struggles and come out alive. But one thing I make sure to maintain is my mental health, because it helps me to even navigate other disappointments that are even coming in future. Yes.
Amazing. We have been absolutely honored to learn from you. And I hope this is the same testament from everyone who's listening in to this conversation. The intention, as I mentioned in the beginning or during our conversation, Dr. Dana, was to feature you just before the International Women's Day. So that's why we focused a lot of our questions to focus on empowering women. But indeed, what you've shared can be cut across. And can we challenge ourselves to take on at least one of these things? If you already have the skills, you've talked about quite a number of things, accepting yourself and where you are in your journey, and then investing in skills that you already have. Or if you feel that you do not want to run with the skills that you have, are you able to invest in new skills? And are we able to build a brand and, around ourselves and also our day-to-day career? and then boost that with mentorship and networking, and then also investing in your mental health. I value all of these. And to be honest, I cannot pick one before the other, because every other day, every other week, every other month, I find myself wondering, what can I do better? What can I improve? How can I excel so that I can grow in confidence? Like you said, the confidence of a white man. There's just quite a lot that we survive as women, but that's the intention of conversations such as these, so that we can share stories of hope, inspirational stories that put faces to the stories and allow people to know that, challenges do happen to every other person, that the problem is not with them, and that they're not the first, right? And there are people who are emerging as winners and rising through all the challenges. And we got this, right? We got this.
We got this.
Thank you so much for giving us your Friday. And any last remarks?
Look what I wanted to share. I don't know who said it, but it was a deep quote that I saw early in the week. And it was going like, no one knows what they're doing, not even the ones with degrees, big job titles, or the people on your vision board. Everyone is just trying loudly, failing loudly, and trying again, and so should you. So it's just what you've come from saying. When you're in that moment, sometimes you feel like you're alone, like, man, you're going through what you're going through, the rest of the world is moving. But in reality, everyone is going. Some people are also going through exactly what you're going through, or some people already did go through it, and some people are going to go through it, or you can even find your again. What you need at that point is just to be positive. Look into yourself, take a chance on yourself, find that joy for yourself, grab it and run. That's what I'll say. That would be my remark.
Yeah, awesome. Grab it and run. Yeah, everyone, you grab that and run with all this inspiration through your coming week. So that has been our Q&A for Friday, our one-on-one rather, with Dr. Diana Justus, talking about my radical acceptance era. Do you have any questions for her that you are not able to raise here? Feel free to send them through. You can drop them on the chat and we'll be able to share them with her, or you can reach out to any of our social media platforms at the storybook_AF to stand for Africa. Or you can go ahead and follow or directly reach out to our wonderful Wandering Doctor. So where can they find you, Diana?
They can find me on Twitter. My DMs are open, but my main social media platform is Instagram at the Wandering Doctor. Yes, I think Instagram will be good, but if they want to send me emails, it could be someone who's interested in maybe wanting a trip planned for them.
Nice.
I have to shout out my business. They can DM that on The Wandering Doctor Travels, or send me an email on info@thewanderingdoctor.com.
Okay.
Those are the platforms they can find me. Yeah.
Thank you for your kind words. I do acknowledge that thy lordship has called me a mentor. Today I will sleep with my shoes on. I will sleep with my shoes on. It's been amazing. And it's always a pleasure to talk with you. It always feels like a friend I have known for a very long time. It usually just feels like home. So thank you so much once again.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for giving me this platform, for us having this conversation. I'm sure we've learned from each other. Just keep talking more.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Okay. Goodbye, everyone. Enjoy your Friday. Have a glass of wine on us. As from me, it's going to be a cranberry juice. Okay. Ciao. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
So that's our story. What's yours? Be sure to connect with us on social media at The Storybook Africa on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, or at The Storybook_AF on Instagram and X. Subscribe to the Storybook Africa podcast today on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Until we meet again, keep writing your own story, and may it be a testament to your limitless potential. Hakuna Matata for now, and remember, your story matters.